Hi, I'm Christina Heideck with PTO Answers, and today I'm going to walk you through the whole process of creating a PTO budget. We're going to talk about what to do, what not to do, what mistakes to make, and it's going to take the whole overwhelming process and really simplify it down into just really basic steps that you can totally do. So let's get into it. Now I'm going to record my screen so that you can see what the process looks like using the treasurer's financial workbook that I have available in my shop.
So there are two ways to set up your budget. It's just like how you do for your family budget. You can either start with how many expenses you have and then figure out how much money you need to bring in to pay for those expenses, or you can figure out how much you're already bringing in for income and then figure out what you want to spend your money on. We're going to start with, let's do income. So you're going to put your budget year in and see how that actually auto-populated the two other columns. It's what's so nice about this. It just makes it really user-friendly, even if you are not an Excel whiz. So as you can see, there's already some categories in here. This workbook gives you up to 50 categories, 50 income categories. If you have fundraising, sales, and see, there's already an example budget set up for us right here. So what you're going to want to do is just plug in the numbers for your income. So let's say last year you had a cookie dough fundraiser and you brought in $10,000. Then you just go ahead and plug that in. So you could say maybe it was actually a combination of a cookie dough and gift wrap. Like you had two separate fundraisers. So you could note that there. Let's say you make $300 from membership. Let's say you sell yearbook sales of, let's just say 1,000 or 100. And then you have a readathon for 420 and a walkathon for 200. And let's say you get a grant from a local charitable organization. Go ahead. Anything that you have income for or income from, go ahead and you're going to add it in here. Everything matches right here. So this is going to stay like this until you actually start entering in some real actual income and expenses. But here's what your group can agree to, that say, and you want to think of every single income source that you have or that you likely will have for the new year. So then we go down to family school expenses. So these should be entered in as negatives or in parentheses. So let's say you want to spend $200 a year on seasonal celebrations, and see how it automatically pulled in and over there. So for expenses, just like you did with income, you go through and think about every single thing that your PTO spends money on or wants to spend money on or programs you want to do. And if there's any money involved in putting on those programs, and you're going to want to note it right here. So these are just some categories that are really common for most organizations. So you're going to want to go ahead and fill in your amount for insurance, fill in, leave yourself some wiggle room here for bank charges. That's for return checks for insufficient funds. It's going to happen unless you're a cash only organization. 1,000 seems pretty high, so we'll mark that down for 125. That gives 5 bounce checks. Oh, and see how I didn't put it in parentheses? So this might be why I've never been treasurer. And my husband has. All right, so there we correct it. There you go. That's how you're going to put in the different expenses right here. And then to see if you have a balanced budget, you can compare the bottom line. So line 113, your total expenses are $7,135, and you've budgeted to bring in $12,000. That means that you could spend $5,000 more if you wanted to get to a net zero at the end of the year, or if you want to roll some money over, then of course you want to leave yourself some wiggle room. That's the basic process for setting a budget. It's basically just figuring out how much you want to spend and how much income you can bring in. And of course you should be at zero to net out, or you should ideally be carrying some stuff over so that you have some money to work with at the beginning of the year. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to put any programs on until you have a fundraiser and you get the proceeds from that fundraiser. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments or join me over on Facebook on the PTO Answers Facebook page and ask me there, and we can talk about it. So I hope this is really helpful.